Hey, John.
Hey, Eric.
How's it going tonight?
It's going well tonight. How are you?
I'm good. We don't really prepare for this podcast. We just kind of throw notes, right? Because the whole premise of the podcast, so we're talking about, and this is back in 2017, like 5 years ago now,
gosh,
right?
That's crazy.
Was, hey, why don't we just have a podcast about what we talk about for lunch?
Exactly.
And
back when we used to be able to go out for lunch most days.
A lot. Yeah. Because we were in the office together and we just go to... Anyways, I have discovered as I was, jotting down ideas and notes for tonight's episode is we've started going to lunch a little bit more.
Yes.
Like in person.
Yes.
And I am now like, did we just talk about that at lunch, or did I talk about it on the podcast last week? Should I mention that this week? Or am I just going to sound funny just saying the same thing as if it were new? Oh,
that's funny.
If I say so. So I actually had to go look up, because we went to the auto show this weekend, but I couldn't remember if it was before the podcast or after the podcast. That's how messed up time has still been for me. So, do I mention the auto show?
This past weekend, or was that longer ago?
Exactly. Exactly. So how was the auto show? I've never been to the auto show. Just, I know that you've mentioned it on the podcast at least last year. I think I mention it every year. And this is one of those things, too, is so the history of the podcast, I've been going for 16 years now.
To the auto show. And I know it's 16 years because when my son was born, my father-in-law had come to visit to check in on his daughter and his new grandson. Okay.
And he was a bit of a preemie, so we were in the hospital and things were a little bit, there was nothing dangerously wrong, but there was concern, let's just say. And so Grandma and, the ladies were all in the hospital trying to help. And Grandpa and I were like, what can we do? And in my head, I'm like, the hospital's like right next to a Mac station. We can roll down to the auto show. It happens to be going on. And so we went to the auto show. And then when my boy was 1, I said, hey, we should go to the auto show. Because everything turned out great. He is perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. Everything turned out great for him. And so it just kind of became a tradition. So I have video of him
in a stroller,
walking around in a stroller, and then walking around as little tiny toddlers do at ages 2 and 3 and 4.
Trying to inculcate
naming the cars
as a young one.
Yes. So it's just been a tradition. I'm sure I've mentioned the tradition previously, but this year it was probably the smallest I've ever seen it. I mean, we're kind of it feels like we're coming out of COVID now.
Yeah.
At least there are indications that, we're going to get rid of mask mandates. We have a lot more vaccines. A lot more people are vaccinated. We have better drugs and better treatments, etc. So I thought, well, maybe the auto show will be bigger. It was actually smaller.
Really?
Normally it's on like the main floor, and there's kind of the imports upstairs, and there's a whole section on how do you refer to it now? How to make your car look fancy.
Custom cars.
Yes, custom cars.
Ghost flames.
And that stuff.
I don't know anything about cars.
But it was all kind of on... It was just all kind of on one floor, and like several of the big manufacturers weren't even there.
Oh.
But we did go, and have you seen that garage floor covering, like the polyurethane? They kind of smooth your floor and they put the flake down.
Yes. I've seen
it. Looks super
I've definitely
cool.
been on that. It looks amazing.
Well, they were having a auto show deal.
This is the special.
Yes, the auto show
buy
special.
One, get 2 free.
Yes, exactly. And so I thought, well, and they kind of quoted me rough estimates on prices and showed me square footage. I'm like, we don't have that big a garage. This might actually be nice. It's kind of something I've always eyeballed, but thought, be a pain. So they came out, they measured, he quoted me the price, and I'm like, done, let's do this. So I'm going to have my garage done.
Whatever that's called.
Yeah,
Epoxified.
Yes. Polyethyl something. He was telling me the different. Anyways, doesn't matter. It's going to look nice.
Okay.
And but my problem
Bowling
though
balls.
is, yeah.
I don't know.
The problem is I have to have the garage completely empty, and my garage doesn't just have cars in it. I've got the outside freezer. I've got grills and my rolling tool chest, and we have a 55-gallon drum of water. As a backup supply of water in case something goes bad. We still have water, which, all these things can be moved, but they're kind of a pain, especially the freezer. Where do we put the freezer?
Plug it in outside for a week.
5 days. It can't be in the garage. Well, yeah. So exactly. We have a porch. It's a covered porch, but having a freezer sticking out on your porch, maybe not all that cool looking for the neighbors.
well, they could live. That.
Yeah. But to protect against, I got a tarp, a gray tarp. Our house is gray, so I got a gray tarp. So
it's like
put
camouflage.
up a gray tarp. Yes, we're going to camouflage the freezer on the
driveway.
Anyways, so that's in a couple weeks. So I'm excited about it.
I look forward to a picture.
And I will have pictures. So it'll be fun. What's the right way to phrase it? I'm excited about this more than I think I probably should be. I mean, I think this will be a nice thing, but I'm actually really excited about it, and I don't know why.
Irrationally exuberant?
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
That's a good way to put it. I'm irrationally exuberant about this, and my wife is also particularly excited about it because there are lots of. I mean, the garage is 30 plus years old, just a slab of concrete, and it's developed cracks and fissures and fun stuff. And they'll grind it all down and smooth it out and basically get rid of them. And the coating flexes a little bit, so the heat and the cold, it'll actually, there will be peace and harmony in the Wheeler garage. In 2 weeks.
All right. Well, that's exciting.
Anyway, so there's my over exuberance.
Well, I hope to be overly exuberant about a new back deck this spring. So we'll see. So I don't know. Not structural, just replacing all the wet moldering boards. I don't know.
Moldering. So you're not going to change the deck. You're just going to replace.
Correct. I'm going to put down the decking on the deck.
Redeck the deck.
We're going to rearrange the deck boards on the back of the Titanic.
Nice.
So, which is, I don't know. I don't know how old it is, but it's old.
Right.
And there are definitely places where, we live in Oregon. I know that I told you that last week, but some of the,
still,
there's enough algae and I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe a power washing would do something, but we're gonna replace all the deck boards and it's gonna look awesome.
Nice.
At some point. All right. We'll see. I was trying to think. I didn't build anything. I didn't break anything. I didn't do anything exciting this past weekend. I'm starting to plant plants. Start seeds in the greenhouse, but just like cold weather stuff. So I did lettuce and peas and beets is all so far. So that's maybe a little something, but other than that, I've been reading a lot. I'm into a good series, so I've been doing nothing but reading in my downtime. So, which
I'm on book 13, so I'm 80% through book 13, and then I'll just have book 14 left for the Wheel of Time series.
Wow!
Again,
well played.
So then I'll just need to figure out what am I do next.
Well played.
What am I going to read next?
May I recommend, if you haven't, the Cytonic Skyward?
I think that's on my list.
Skyward is book 1? Okay. The boys and I just finished book 3 of Cytonic this past weekend. So that was awesome. The series I'm reading is a young adult, basically. So the books have gone really fast. I'm literally reading the 10th book this week. So they have not been long. It takes like 3 hours to read a book. But anyway. All right.
Okay.
So I threw one thing into follow up here, which isn't, I mean, I don't know what it's following up on, other than the fact that like it seems like a third of the stories or links that we post have been from him. So it's Catalan Campanu is no longer at the record. So
I saw that.
I don't, well, he hasn't said where he's going to go. His Twitter bio says taking a break.
Okay.
He will not be silent for long, and he's still tweeting about security topics or retweeting security topics. So writer's going to write or something. But anyway, that will be interesting to see where he lands.
Okay. Well, I have one security topic.
Hit me.
I can see in the video that no one else can see because this is an audio podcast, your printer over there to your side. I have a printer, and there is Consumer Reports did analysis of security on 5 of the major printer manufacturers. And so they have an article that talks about, hey, guess what? If you get this printer and you get the mobile app, because everything is all wireless now, right? Before you had to plug printers into a PC or a Mac, and then you had to go to that specific machine and then print it. And then they became network-based printers, and you could send it to the network. And now it's all wireless. And now you can direct connect from your phone and print stuff from your phone on. Anyways, technology, always moving forward.
Absolutely.
Anyways, it does point out a number of issues where printers, for example, printers are just little mini computers. They're IoT devices, or they're have bugs and need to be patched like anything else. But this one kind of focused on here's where printers have problems, right? If you have a mobile app that connects to the printer, you're going to have the mobile app asking for all sorts of information it doesn't need, like location information, a bunch of other stuff. You don't need that to actually print. And then there are some other notes that it mentions if you are not aware, if you have your computer connected to your PC, or if you've connected it to your network, either Wi-Fi or with a wire, there's probably a web server running on that printer. You can go to your printer IP address
to configure it,
and load it up and look at it, and it'll show you a bunch of stuff. And a lot of times, it's kind of wide open. I think I probably made a joke about seeing a neighbor's printer a long time ago. It was a neighbor I knew well, a while back, and I printed out something to their printer saying, "Hey, Choctaw, let me know how I can help you fix this." Eric, kind of thing.
I know I have a friend, you know him too, but I'm not gonna put him on, who, when his daughter was a teenager, logged into his neighbor's network and configured it so that his daughter could not connect to their Wi-Fi when she was grounded.
Right. I remember that, because not a dumb kid. Well, if I'm grounded and, the home Wi-Fi is taken away, I can always log into the neighbors. And then, him telling the story about, since their router was wide open, I logged in and made it so fabulous.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway.
Yeah. Good stuff. So the article kind of goes through and talks, it doesn't really give, it kind of just calls out, here are some security issues you may have with your printers. I just want to give this one as a heads up between, the web server that's running on it probably isn't using a HTTPS, and you would think, well, if I'm at home, why would it matter? If someone can connect to your network, or if something, you get a phishing attack, or it tries to move laterally inside your network, printers are easy targets. So I think probably the biggest one here is to pay attention to with your printer is just make sure your printer is not public and broadcasting Wi-Fi public, because you can have neighbors connecting to it. You could have all sorts of fun stuff happening. So just kind of keep an eyeball out for it. And this Consumer Reports article was just kind of here, listed it out, got feedback from, the printer vendors,
Just kind of a reminder on printer security
Best
at
practices.
home. Yeah. So there you go. That's what I saw this week that I thought was interesting.
Yeah. I've been happy with my printer. I've got a Hewlett Packard color laser, which I think that was on your recommendation at some point, and I've been very happy with it. But since I've continued to have both networks. My current problem is that I neither network is good, and so but the printer's on one network, and actually I have a similar problem with my Tableau, which is on one network. But then occasionally, like if I want to use the higher bandwidth on the downstairs Apple TV that's close enough to the T-Mobile 5G hotspot to actually take advantage of the bandwidth, I want to switch over, but then I can't use Tableau. Or same thing for the printer. I'll go to print and the printer won't print. I'll be like, why is it not printing? And then I'm like, oh crap, because I'm on the wrong network. And I still need, I don't know. I still need to complain about my network. That being said, I shouldn't complain because, hello, we're on video. We got good audio here. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
What network am I on?
No, it's all good.
Yeah, and I'm currently on my slow network. So, whatever. It is what it is. It is what it is. All right. I brought two topics tonight. This has been quite the week with the news and the Ukraine invasion by Russia. So the first article, though, is about I think the link I'll put in here is to a Hacker News article, which says Microsoft found this malware they denoted as FoxBlade, which was a destructive cyber attack launched at Ukraine in the hours before Russia. It says Microsoft on Monday disclosed it detected a new round of offensive and destructive cyber attacks directed against Ukraine's digital infrastructure hours before Russia launched its first missile strikes last week. But it's also known in other industries, including what used to be McAfee Enterprise, but is now Trellix, as a hermetic wiper. So hermetic wiper, FoxBlade, or kill disk. There's no naming authority in the security industry. So I don't know which of those will wind up being the name it's most commonly known by. But, I've seen other stuff recently about how, like in the last few days, how little a role cyber attacks are playing, but I think that's mainly because that's not the phase that it's in. There's still more info to come, I'm sure. But it says these recent and ongoing cyber attacks have been precisely targeted, and we have not seen the use of indiscriminate malware technology that spread across Ukraine's economy and beyond its borders, such as in the 2017 NotPetya attack. That was a quote by Brad Smith, Microsoft's president and vice chair. If you I don't know, like I said, I'll put a link to the Hacker News article in here, but the Trellix article also has a bunch of IOCs and stuff like that. So if you're in the business of protecting an environment, you should go look at the Trellix article. There's also a link in the Hacker News to VirusTotal, which has obviously links to a specific file, but you can follow the chain for other things there if you're interested. That was certainly one of the big stories early in the week. The other big story for the week is it's also related to Ukraine in the sense that a Ukrainian security researcher was the leaker, but this is several years of internal chat logs and other data from the ransomware group Conti. So this was posted on Sunday. So here's this. A Ukrainian security researcher this week leaked several years of internal chat logs and other sensitive data tied to Conti, an aggressive and ruthless Russian cybercrime group that focuses on deploying its ransomware to companies with more than 100 million in annual revenue. The chat logs offer a fascinating glimpse into the challenges of running a sprawling criminal enterprise with more than 100 salaried employees. So the article that I'm linking here is to a Krebs on Security article. And he actually has posted two. One was posted yesterday and one today, I think, at least as we're recording this. The first one is kind of more about the internals of some of the response. Conti's been under attack or was taken down by the NSA for a while, a year or two ago. But the second article, which I don't think we'll talk much about tonight, but the second article, which you can get to obviously if you go and follow for this, is more about the organizational structure and relationships within the group. Something that can be inferred and or would be explicitly exferred. Something that can be told from being able to read the chats between different people. So this is chat logs, an archive from Conti's private communications infrastructure. There were two blocks, January 29th, 2021, so a year and a month ago, to current. And then before that, 4 or 5 months from June 2020 to November 2020. So, two blocks. There's, I'd say, speculation in the article, but the blocks of where the data was not available largely lined up with the period of time. Oh, actually, here's the quote. I'll actually read the quote. The temporal gaps in these chat records roughly correspond to times when Conti's IT infrastructure was dismantled and or infiltrated by security researchers, private companies, law enforcement, and national intelligence agencies. So that's interesting. Another interesting thing here is we've actually feel like we mentioned Hold Security for an article in recent memory, but there was a quote here from Alex Holden. The quote, the Ukrainian-born founder of Milwaukee-based cyber intelligence firm Hold Security, said the person who leaked the information is not a former Conti affiliate, as many on Twitter have assumed. Rather, the leaker is a Ukrainian security researcher who has chosen to stay in his country and fight. The person releasing this is a Ukrainian and a patriot. He's seeing that Conti is supporting Russia in its invasion of Ukraine, and this is his way to stop them, in his mind at least. So,
okay.
Interesting. So the interesting. What else was interesting in here? So a little bit about in September of 2020. So I guess that was a year and a half ago. The NSA seized control over the TrickBot network, which was one of the primary botnets that Conti used to distribute its ransomware. But so the interesting thing in here is that even though it wasn't announced publicly until October, in the chats, it shows, let me see, here's this quote. The leaked Conti chats show that the group's core leadership detected something was seriously wrong with their crime machine just a few hours after the initial compromise of TrickBot's infrastructure on September 22nd. The one who made this garbage did it very well, wrote Hoff, the handle chosen by a top Conti leader, commenting on the TrickBot malware implant that was supplied by the NSA and quickly spread to the rest of the botnet. He knew how the bot works. He probably saw the source code or reversed it. Plus, he somehow encrypted the config. He had an encoder and a private key, plus uploaded it all to the admin panel. It's just some kind of sabotage. Interesting. Mm-hmm. And then here's the beauty piece here. After a while, they will download a new config via Emmercoin, but they will not be able to apply this config because this saboteur uploaded the config with the maximum version number, and the bot is checking that the new config, or version number, should be larger than the old one. Sorry, but this is effed up. I don't know how to get them back. So the NSA, so I don't know what the largest version number is. Maybe it's a max int, maybe it's something else, but let's just pretend it's 999. So the NSA, when they pushed a config to TrickBot to take over the botnet, must have pushed a config with config number 999. And then when the bots could no longer contact their command and control infrastructure, they had a fallback mechanism through a crypto coin-based DNS system. But when they did that and tried to download a new config, they couldn't apply it because the config they had is already the highest that is available. They couldn't roll to the fourth digit or whatever it is. I don't know what. I found that to be
that's awesome,
interesting and awesome. Yeah. So let's see. And then the last thing I pulled out of this particular article was remember when President Biden talked to Putin last fall and asked them to crack down on ransomware.
Right.
There's inference in here about some contacts with Russian law enforcement being resumed or rekindled, it says. Our old case was resumed, wrote the Conti member Kagas in a message to Stern on October 6th, 2021. The investigator said why it was resumed. The Americans officially requested information about Russian hackers, not only about us, but in general, who was caught around the country. Actually, they're interested in the TrickBot and some other viruses. Next Tuesday, the investigator called us for a conversation, but for now, it's like witnesses. That way, if the case is suspended, they can't interrogate us in any way. And in fact, because of this, they resumed it. We have already contacted our lawyers. Another Conti member pipes into the discussion and says the group has been assured that the investigation will go nowhere from the Russian side and that the entire inquiry from local investigators will be closed by mid-November 21. And then there's a quote in here. This wasn't, I don't think this came necessarily from the chats, but it appears Russian investigators were more interested in going after a top Conti competitor, REvil, an equally ruthless Russian ransomware group, because they arrested a number of the participants of REvil not long after that. But Conti, no. So anyway, that was the biggest story that I saw this week that I figured we couldn't let pass by. But I suspect there will be more info coming out of this in a little bit. In fact, so that's the other thing that was a potential fallout of this is I saw tweets at least that the source code was also released, or some portions of the source code. And if so, that would be not awesome because that would mean that a relatively toxic ransomware strain's source code would be widely available.
Right.
So that would have other bad implications. Hey Eric, how about something fun tonight?
Well, I have two bits of fun.
Okay.
One is a follow-up fun.
Okay.
I think my fun last week was Wordle. I had started playing Wordle. I'm behind, I'm not as cool as other people. There is a YouTuber, 3 Blue, 1 Brown. It's kind of like a teacher, and he teaches about information theory. And he goes through, it's a half-hour YouTube video on the information theory on Wordle and how it functions, how it works, how bits of information are shared, how to make the best guess, how a computer is going to make a completely different, unexpected guess than you will because of information theory. So it was very fascinating. Ooh. And I thought it was kind of cool. So I watched the whole video and thought, oh, this is really cool. I should start using, because the hook for his video was the best word to start with is, mathematically proving the best word to start with is, and he gave it the word. And a bunch of blog sites and everything picked it up as well and did it. Then about a week later, he released another video saying, I had a bug in my code. And he has 10 more minutes of video basically going through and saying, here's what I did. And his bug was in how he was pre-computing the values to make the lookups faster, because he basically computes every possible permutation of all the
Okay.
words and, to figure out anyways.
Like a rainbow
So
table.
he discovered a bug. He explains his bug. His bug was a minor bug and didn't affect much at all, but he wanted to clarify, so he fixed it. So I have 2 YouTube videos on solving Wordle with information theory. They're very well done, great animation and graphics that go along with it, very nice descriptions on that. So if you are hooked on Wordle, but trust me, watching these videos will not make you better at Wordle. If you ran the same program he did, you could solve Wordle because,
Okay.
computers, that's what they do. They crunch numbers. They're math. So
you have to know a lot of 5-letter words in order to actually play Wordle.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying. But
correct.
But strategy could still help. So I have not played Wordle yet. I think that was my homework last week. But sorry, I haven't done that.
So there you go. That was my first one, and then my second one. I don't know if you've seen this, Brandon Sanderson. So I'm reading a book by Brandon Sanderson.
Do you notice the YouTube link down in my fun that says "Don't watch this yet"?
Oh no!
You must have already watched my fun thing.
I was like, I'm not going to watch it. So I did not watch your YouTube video. I saw your link there with the note, don't watch this. And I was like, I should.
So clearly you watched it. Not now, but like you saw the same thing.
I have not actually watched the video yet. I've just read through the Kickstarter. So the link I threw in there was the Kickstarter.
Okay.
To say,
all right.
Watching the video is on my list, but I haven't watched it yet. I'm sorry, I totally ruined you something fun.
No. This is all good. Okay, but for anybody listening to this is the worst audio experience anybody's ever had. Okay, so if you like Brandon Sanderson and you have not watched the Brandon Sanderson video, consider this a spoiler bell and push pause right now and go watch the link that will be in the podcast player, or just go onto YouTube and Google Brandon Sanderson and watch it's probably the top result of "I've been lying to you" or something like that.
Right.
Okay, because now we can spoil it. So you looked at the Kickstarter, but in the video, he does a good job in the video of being like, "So I'm sorry, I've been lying to you. While I was on COVID break, I accidentally wrote a book." And he went,
I love it. I accidentally wrote a book.
And I should let you watch all this because now I'm spoiling this for you because you haven't actually watched it.
That's all right.
But so I'm sorry.
Right.
So he whips out like, a ream of paper and he's like, "I'm sorry," and he slams it down on the table, and he's like. So, because I realized, and then he goes into professor mode. He pulls out like a pointer and goes to a blackboard, and he's like, "So, before in 2019, I only had this much writing time." He has a pie chart. I only had like a third of my time was spent on writing time, and basically a third of my time was spent on family and non-work time, but a third of my time was in travel. Well, in 2020, not only did I not travel, I couldn't travel, so I wrote a book. But then that's where he's like, and he wrote it for his wife. He's like, "And I had so much fun writing the book that, well, I couldn't help myself." And then he whips out like 3 more reams of paper. He's like, "I didn't write 1 book. I wrote 5 extra books in addition to the 4 books or however many he's released in the publicly."
Right.
And then one of the best parts of this is that he said that even his team at Dragon Steel Studios, something like that, even his team didn't know. So he evidently put them out on a table in their office with underneath sheets of paper, with a sheet of paper that says "top secret," and then surprised his team when they came in the next day with 5 books. Mm-hmm. And I love the notion of, "Hey, I'm sorry guys, I've been keeping a secret from you for 2 years, and by the way, here's 5 extra books." So,
right.
Anyway, this was actually your something fun, but
I'm sorry. I feel bad. I slightly ruined your something because I did you go and
I
pledge in the Kickstarter yet? Are you going to
mention that I love my wife? Because I told her last night. Actually, I watched at dinner last night, I was like, oh, hey, boys, let's watch this video. And so I put it on and we watched the video while we were eating dinner, which, whatever, we don't normally allow phones at the dinner table. But, and then afterwards, my wife was like, so did you order it yet? And I'm like, no, I was going to do this. And she's like, well, why don't you get all the books? And I'm like, well, it's like $500 for the top thing. She's like, and? I'm like, well, she's like, he's your favorite author. And if they're doing a Kickstarter, they're gonna get more money than like if it was going through traditional publishing for, doing it themselves and everything else. You should totally support them. I'm totally in favor of supporting artists. And I'm like, yeah, so I have not done it yet, but I am, because I kind of like can't yet like cope. But yeah. I loved her reaction. I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. But because like they have so sorry for the 5 books. One, he's going to turn into a graphic novel because that he wrote for his kids and or he thinks it'll be a graphic novel. So that's not one of the ones. So the other 4 they're going to release as part of this Kickstarter, 1 per quarter in 2023, and then. If you want, that you can sign up for just the books, the ebooks, the audiobooks, the physical books, all of the books. Or if you want to go crazy, you can get the Year of Sanderson. And in between the book releases, they'll give you, 3 months or
swag boxes,
2 months worth of swag boxes for whatever. So, and that's the one that's like, the books themselves, if you want the physical books, they're like $40 a piece. So $160 for just the physical books. I don't remember. It's like $40 for the or the ebooks and $60. Anyway, it wasn't, there were some shorter things if you wanted or cheaper things if you wanted. But anyway, that was totally going to be my something fun too.
I feel slightly bad, but not too bad.
Not too bad.
I'm sitting here. It is, so I've had the Kickstarter open since after lunch at some point. And I just hadn't watched the video, but I had it sitting in a tab. And while I was making notes and while you were talking, I'm like, oh yeah, that's still open in my tab. I should throw that in as something fun. And so I'm sitting with the pledge button. I have not pushed the pledge button because I'm debating, do I want the swag boxes? Because I'm not really a swag kind of guy, but maybe it would be fun. Or do I just want the audiobook and the digital book? I don't think I want the hardcover books, but I knew you would go for the hardcover books. But I think for sure, at least I'm going to get the audio, because the audiobook, they have levels. So if you get the audiobook, it includes the ebook.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, I've been enjoying exercising and listening to audiobooks. I found the thing that Eric can do while listening to audiobooks, and that's exercise.
So it's like something else, like something where like you can't like easily turn pages. And but your occupation of your hands or body, the rest of your body or whatever, it does not take your brain. Mm-hmm. It does not take all your brain.
That's right. So I'm debating: do I want the swag, the 8 additional swag boxes, or do I just want the audiobook and ebooks? So I'm wavering between those two.
Do you know what a hard time I had not buying the leather bound whatever? I remember he did those leather
his other Kickstarter.
Yeah. So, but I avoided doing anything for that just because I have so many books. I have way too many books, Eric. Way too many books.
I'm not sure there's such a thing, but I get what you're saying. Anyways, so next week you're going to have to come up with something fun because you failed this week.
Something fun of my own. All right. Well, your homework. My homework is still go play Wordle, which I totally should. Your homework is watch the video because he actually. Now, I mean, I spoiled most of it, but he is funny because he's totally a nerd. He's totally a nerd.
All right, John.
All right. Have a good evening, Eric. I'll talk to you later.
You too. We'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye.